We are bringing you the best slider recipes ever.
Ever!
And not only are these the best sliders you're ever gonna find, they also can all be made ahead. So you can have these in your freezer to take them out and make them anytime the craving strikes. I wouldn't suggest you make all of these.
I was just thinking that. I'm thinking about how full my freezer is right now and how I would stick 7 trays of sliders in there. And I'm like, I think I would just do one at a time or maybe 2.
If you've watched our videos before, you'll know that 99% of our freezer meals we make in bags. So then they're super thin. We can stack so many in our freezer. Whereas the sliders are in trays and they take up way more room. So we only ever have 2 sets of sliders in our freezer at one time.
Because there just really isn't room for others. And of course we eat our food down, but just right now we're at maximum capacity. We are not going to have a lot of room. I think you and I are going to be eating a lot of sliders in the next little while from making so many. That's okay, they're delicious.
Hold on 1 second.
What?
This is literally the freezer meal that I took out for today's dinner. It is cheeseburger sliders, and it's because it takes up this much room in my freezer. It's the equivalent of 2 or 3 bags.
Oh, yeah.
I took this out specifically to make space, not even just because the kids are gonna love this, but they are gonna love this.
Of course, it is good.
So we don't recommend that you make all 7 of these recipes at one time, but you can pick and choose because there's so much variety here. So let's get to the first recipe. So we might as well start with the cheeseburger sliders because I just talked about them. The reason I have them is because Christy and I, for those of you who don't know, we are neighbors and really good friends, and we have been getting together to do freezer meals forever, for over 12 years together. And once every 3 months we do this where we make like over 100. This last time over 156 or over 160 depending on how you look at it.
Yes.
And we'll pop a video for that right up there. But this is the first time that we did those cheeseburger sliders, which is why they're in my freezer. And we did some awesome recipes in that video, like new ones that are so good. Been really enjoying having them. So for these cheeseburger sliders, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your dozen buns, you're gonna slice them in half lengthwise, and you're going to put the bottom of those buns into a foil tray. Then in a bowl, you're going to mix together some lean ground beef that's been browned and cooled, minced garlic, we just use it from a jar, some minced onion, Worcestershire sauce, salt, and pepper. You're gonna set that aside for a minute. In a really small bowl, you're gonna mix together a little bit of mayo with some ketchup and mustard. And then you're going to take that mayo mixture and you're going to spread it on both halves of your buns. Then you're going to sprinkle that bottom bun layer with some shredded cheddar cheese, of course, for the cheeseburger portion of this recipe. Then you're gonna add that meat mixture on top of that, and then a layer of dill pickles, because I don't know about you, but I don't think that you can have cheeseburgers without pickles.
It's almost as important as the cheese.
It is true. Now, if you hate pickles, you can skip this step, but then you're gonna add another layer of shredded cheddar cheese and replace that top lid of the buns. You're gonna melt some butter, brush that on top of your buns, and sprinkle the whole darn thing with everything bagel seasoning, which is just gonna take it up to the next level. Then you're going to cover it with 2 layers of aluminum foil and get this into your freezer. On the day you go to cook this, you're going to thaw it. you're gonna wanna thaw all of the sliders because, as Christy has taught me, bread can be quite dense, and she has tried to cook the sliders from frozen before. And it's not that it doesn't work, but it takes forever.
You end up adding like a full hour to your cooking, and you might as well just take them out earlier. Like, it really, really took an extra long time. I thought, oh, I'll just snap these in there, and it didn't work out that way. So, and I prefer to, most of my freezer meals, I thaw completely anyway. That's just because then I know that the timing is gonna work. I don't like to mess around with the frozen stuff.
So you're gonna just cook these for like 10 to 15 minutes, super fast. That cheese is gonna melt and be like ooey gooey, and you can slice them if you want, and then you can pull them apart easier, and yeah, you get that pull. So, right?
That's so funny. That's good.
Now the cheeseburger sliders we have already made and tried. My daughter tried them at Christy's house.
They were a hit, and to get teenagers to agree on anything that comes out of your mouth or out of your kitchen is, you know, a mark on the wall in my books.
That's a win.
That's a win. I'll take it.
The next 2 slider recipes that we're going to share with you are actually new to us, therefore new to you, and we don't have an opinion on whether they're good or not.
We haven't had a chance to try them yet.
We're going to be doing this right with you, and we'll see. Now, to make these, we did go to Costco to get our buns because Costco sells the dinner rolls in packs of 2 dozen. So you're going to have 24 buns, and it's perfect. When Christy and I are doing it together, she can take one home, I can take one home, or we can buy 2 sets of that and make 4 and each take 2 home.
Yeah, when you're making freezer meals, it is a better idea to double things up or do 3 or 4 of them, because if you're going to chop one onion, if it only calls for a 1/4 cup of onion, you might as well chop the whole onion and make 4 of them. You might as well brown all the beef at once. You might as well shred all your cheese at once. It just makes sense to go ahead and do more. So it's like Costco is reading our mind.
Totally. And it is also much less expensive to buy them there and in the 2-pack than it is to get them anywhere else. So we discovered that quite a long time ago and have been making more sliders since.
Yeah, and anytime can be camping season at our house. We don't totally camp year round, but these are really nice to take camping because they are filling and they're warm and they're good and they are ooey gooey.
Sliders are also great for a crowd. We had the pizza sliders, which are coming up later, so stay tuned for that, at my daughter's baby shower, and that was so easy. I was actually sick that week, so I didn't have time to make a lot of appetizers like I normally would for a gathering like that, and this worked out so well. I could just plop them in the oven, not even think about it, and serve them, and there's a dozen, so you can serve quite a few people.
That's right. This next recipe is buffalo chicken sliders, which anything that tastes buffalo chicken is good. It can be chicken wings, it can be pasta, it can be dip, it can be quesadillas. We even have some in our club, and which we will tell you about later.
Have the buffalo chicken taquitos that we just did.
Oh, yeah. So really, I think it makes sense to put buffalo chicken on a slider. So this is how you're going to make them. Of course, you're going to cut your buns and separate them. So with your bottom in the tray, in a separate bowl, you're going to mix together some cooked shredded chicken with your buffalo hot sauce. Then we're going to take some ranch dressing, spread that nice and evenly over all of our open-faced buns. We're going to add a bit of Monterey Jack cheese on the bottom, and then we're going to top that with our shredded mixture. And then we're going to sprinkle more of the Monterey Jack on top of that. Now, if you want to be fancy, because there are people that will want to have the blue cheese with this, and then there will be people that will definitely not want to have the blue cheese with this, you can crumble some blue cheese on your Monterey Jack, and that is okay. And it's okay if you don't want it to. So that is entirely up to you.
And you could put it on half if you know that your kids are going to want the blue cheese, and you're going to, and then what you would do in that case is you would just do a little mark with a knife in the buns on that half so that you remember which half has the blue cheese.
See, that's so smart. This is a woman who likes blue cheese where the rest of her family may or may not.
Exactly. I've had experience with this.
That totally works. Once we may or may not have put the blue cheese on, we're going to put the lid on our buns. And then for this one, we're going to mix our herbs right into our butter. We're going to add some parsley and a little bit of minced garlic right into the melted butter and spread that on. Now, sometimes you can spread it on. Sometimes I like to drizzle it on because then it pools around. And let me tell you, when you cook this, it gets crispy on the bottom. Like parts of it actually even start to stick to the pan, like, but it's so crispy. And so then you get the ooey gooey, which Charlotte loves, and then you get some crunch as well that goes really well with it.
I'm excited to try these.
Yeah, we love Buffalo Ranch anything, so they're gonna definitely be a hit.
The next one is also a brand new to us recipe, and it's something that I've been thinking of for a while, ever since we sort of got on our slider kick, and that is Reuben Sliders. Now, if you've been with us for a while on this channel, you know that I don't actually eat beef. I adapt a lot of our recipes so that I use veggie beef with them so I can still try them. But I haven't actually had actual beef in 21 or 22 years. So I loved Reuben sandwiches, and when I stopped eating beef, it was one of the hardest things for me to give up. I still make Reubens all the time for myself, and I just skip the corned beef part. So that's my thing. So with this one, we're actually gonna use corned beef because I don't really think that the majority of people should eat their Reubens without it. But I'm gonna have to figure out a way to adapt it. Maybe there's like a veggie version of corned beef that I can use.
Oh, I wonder.
We'll figure it out. So I'm excited to make this for you, and maybe down the line I can figure out a way that I can actually make it so I can eat it. But we're gonna take our buns again, slice them lengthwise, and put the bottom in the tray. You might be noticing a pattern here. This is gonna happen with all of our sliders. Then we're going to spread some Thousand Island dressing on both halves, or you could use a grainy mustard. And for me, I prefer a grainy mustard with my Reubens, so whichever one you prefer, go ahead and do. Then you're gonna add some corned beef slices. You're gonna add a few layers of that, but you want that to be sliced thin. Then some drained sauerkraut all over top of that, and some large slices of Swiss cheese. You're gonna replace the lid of your buns. Then you're gonna melt some butter and drizzle the butter on top, and then sprinkle it with some dry onion, sesame seeds, and salt. Get your foil on there, get it in your freezer. I think this is gonna be really good.
That sounds really good. It has been years since I've had a Reuben. And now just even you talking about it makes me want to go eat a Reuben.
I'm not sure what we should do about the Thousand Island versus the mustard. Like, I wonder if we should try half and half here.
Do Thousand Island on the bottom and mustard on the top.
Could you mix those? Yeah, I suppose.
The sauerkraut is such a distinct flavor that I think both pale in comparison to it, but both would support it. I don't think they would work against each other. I think it would be okay. When I was 13 years old, my family took me to Disney World in Florida.
Nice.
My mom was a realtor, and there was a convention there. So
Okay.
she could write off her portion of the trip. My dad and I went along as tag-alongs. So sometimes she would be at the conference, and Dad and I would go to SeaWorld, or we would all get to go to Disney. And of course, we went to Epcot Center, and you can go around the world and try all the different foods from around the world and all the different places. And that was the very first time I ever had heard of or ate a Monte Cristo. A Monte Cristo sandwich where it's got the ham and the different cheese, and you dip the egg, like the sandwich gets dipped in the egg and then it gets cooked. I had never heard of such a thing, and it was the most wonderful thing to eat. And so when we had talked about doing Monte Cristo sliders, I was like over the moon. It's a bit of a pain to make a Monte Cristo sandwich because it's a little bit extra work, and you have to have all the different meats and cheeses if you really want to do it right. Although I do make a mean wife saver that's Monte Cristo flavored instead of just the regular ham and cheese. And that's really nice on Christmas morning. So to make it into a slider, it is a total winner in my books because this is...
You get 12 sandwiches at one time.
I know! So again, we're going to start out with our buns and we're going to cut them in half and put that bottom one in our pan. We're going to start off by putting our cheddar cheese right onto that bottom layer of buns. We're going to add in some roasted turkey slices and some ham slices, and then the other cheese is going to be Swiss cheese. We're going to lay that on top. We're going to replace the lid of our buns. Once our lid is back on, we're going to put some melted butter onto our sliders, and that's it. We're going to get our foil on there and get that into the freezer.
Now, when you were talking about your Monte Cristo experience in Disneyland, Disney World, I was thinking, because that one, like a traditional Monte Cristo, is breaded in egg or
dipped in egg
yeah. and cooked. Could we, instead of the butter, next time we try these, brush them with like a beaten egg?
Yeah, a beaten egg. If you're going to do it, yeah, I think you could. When you do it for pie, because it brings out shine in the pie, it makes it a little bit crispier. I think it would work on buns. Yeah, I really think it would. You would do add a teaspoon of water to it, which sounds weird, but it's a thing that you do when you're doing it with pie. So that's what I would do with the buns too. And I wouldn't put it on super thick, I think.
But just to get like that egg idea.
To get the egg idea, and they would be super shiny and super nice. I think so.
It's a thought.
That is a thought. And this one is when you go to cook it, you're cooking it for 20 minutes with the foil on, and then you take the lid off, the foil off, and you can cook it for another 5 minutes. So that's going to give it time for that to crisp up as well. So I think you definitely have something there. We should try that.
We should try it. These next sliders we invented because we had so much turkey left over after Thanksgiving last year. And so we did a video. I'll pop the video right up there, and it's all like turkey leftovers and what you can do with them. We made a lot of different freezer meals with them. We also used up some of the extra like mashed potatoes and stuffing and all the leftovers, which is great for even like Easter or Thanksgiving. Well, that is Thanksgiving, but Christmas, whatever. Or if you just happen to have some extra turkey. If you don't have extra turkey, these are turkey sliders, but you could make them with a deli turkey. It doesn't have to be real.
No, of course.
Ours just happened to be real turkey because we had it. Now you're going to, again, slice those buns, set the bottom down in your tray, and then you're gonna spread some ranch dressing on the buns, some cooked bacon that's broken up. Now, we did ours in pieces to fit the buns so that it would just make it easier to slice. Then you're gonna add that turkey, whether it be deli slices or your leftover turkey, then some cheddar cheese, and you're gonna replace the lid, spread it with some melted butter, and sprinkle dry onion on top. They were good.
They were totally good.
And you could dip them in leftover cranberry sauce if you had any.
Oh, I was gonna dip mine in gravy.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, like cranberry schmanberry. If you wanted to, you could put cranberry sauce right on top before you put your buns on. Like you could stack this pretty. If you had leftover dressing,
oh, you could make quite a
you
sandwich.
could make quite a sandwich out of this, and then dip that whole sucker in gravy. Absolutely, I'm dreaming of Thanksgiving suddenly. Thank you very much.
In the middle of winter.
You know, what are we, like we were thinking about cheese sliders, and now we were thinking about the Monte Cristos and a Reuben. Like all of these are making me hungry. We should not have filmed this before lunch. This ham and cheese sliders recipe is our OG. We've been doing this one for a few years, and I think I most famously did them in my camper while we were camping. I have an RV, and I made a camping video, and I kind of got raked over the coals in the comments a little bit because it wasn't like really camping, because I have a camper and I have a full kitchen and you know.
And then the next year, I went camping and we did like a real camping video where I was camping like over the open fire.
Yes.
Because we're like, we can do
that.
Yeah, like
we can do the things.
You can do freezer meals whether you're in an RV or
Yes.
really, really camping. So
And your RV wasn't even in the shot.
no, I was totally in an RV. I do not tent camp. But there are people that do, and freezer meals can work for them.
Yes,
so.
they can. And I don't know if sliders would work as well as maybe some of the other camping ones that we have, but this is really the first time that I made them, and it worked so well. And we took them on a hike, and it was drizzly. And after everybody was done on their hike and they're eating their cold sandwiches, I pulled this hot tray out of my truck with these beautiful sliders, and we're like, these are so good. And people came over, like we had birds. They were people, but they wanted our food. It was good. It was a fun time. That's how good these are. They're so simple. So we start out by just cutting our buns open like we have been and getting that bottom into the tray. We are going to add some slices of Swiss cheese, or you could use cheddar or marble cheese. Then we're going to add our ham on there, and then we are going to plop that lid on top. And then here is where these ones really shine. We have a very fancy sauce to put on top of these ham sliders. In a bowl, we are going to mix together some mayonnaise, a little bit of mustard, Dijon mustard, some Worcestershire sauce, a little bit of poppy seeds, some honey, and some dried onions. We're going to mix that in with some melted butter, and then we are going to drizzle that over top of our buns. You can brush this on if you want, but this is a drizzle sort of situation that we're looking at here. And these will go nicely into your freezer when you go to cook them. Again, this is also where I learned that you really needed to thaw them, because I'm like, I'm camping, I'll just do them in my camper from frozen, and like pretty soon I had like starving children. It was another time, but that's when I'm like, no, I'm just gonna thaw these all the way through, because it was not worth it to wait to get through them when they were frozen. But they cook up really nicely.
And you can find the recipe for those ones down below. You're not going to find the recipe for every single one of these below, because the Reuben sliders are new, the buffalo chicken sliders are new. So for those, we need to test them first. We always test them by freezing first, then cooking, because we can't tell you if it works to freeze it until we actually do it. So we always do like our process, and then if it's good enough, actually, if it's pretty amazing, then it makes it into the Freezer Meals 101 Club, which is a membership where you can access our recipes, create meal plans, print your shopping list, your prep list, and your labels. And then eventually it makes its way to our website, which is freezermeals101.com. So you'll find some of those there already, but just fair warning, we're not going to have those brand new ones in the description below, because there aren't recipes yet.
They are still in the testing phase, and you will thank us later.
And we probably will test around and see, like, is that buffalo chicken one better with the blue cheese or not?
Can we brush the egg on there, on the Monte Cristo ones,
Yes.
or not? So that's a real thing that we have to consider.
Now we are getting to super kid-friendly. These are all kid-friendly, but this one is decidedly the most kid-friendly that we have. This is our pizza sliders. These are the ones I was saying that I used for my daughter's baby shower. And this particular daughter, even though she is now a mom, still eats like a kid.
She does.
Has always been my pickiest eater, and there's no exception, she still is. And so she was a fan of these, and it was the perfect thing to serve for that, because you're not gonna have fancy food for someone who doesn't eat it. These pizza sliders, you're gonna again put the bottom of your sliced buns in that tray, and then you're going to sprinkle some shredded mozzarella cheese down. Then add some pizza sauce. The thing about putting the cheese first is it creates a bit of a barrier between the sauce and the bread so that it doesn't get as soggy. Then you're going to put some pepperoni slices on top of that, and then some more cheese. We're gonna replace the lid, and then we're going to put some melted butter, sprinkle some shredded Parmesan cheese on top of that, and some Italian seasoning. And really, it's the Parmesan cheese and Italian seasoning that makes this whole recipe. It elevates it. It's still super kid friendly, but it just makes it so that even adults are gonna be wanting seconds.
And it is really, really delicious. Now, something we haven't really mentioned a whole lot yet, we touched on it earlier, that some of them you could just pull apart, some of them you can slice. Listen, if you're laying down deli meat, you're probably gonna wanna slice these before you eat it. Just an idea. We haven't said that explicitly on every recipe, so I just wanted to point that out. Some of them, like the turkey one, if you're using leftover turkey, well, yeah, you can totally pull that apart and it should be okay. Cheeseburger sliders, pull it apart.
We talked a little bit about that mega session that we did where we made over 150 meals. It was a record for us. And then we had a little incident.
There was an incident.
So we had to come back and make 10 more of the meals. So we say it's 156, but really it was 166.
Yeah, our final count was 166. Our freezers were bursting at the seams.
Yes, they were. And so we're gonna put a video right over there to that so that you can watch the whole darn thing. It is long, it is fun, and you can find out what that little incident was. But thank you for joining us today on this little mini sliders marathon. We are so glad to have you here. It's always way more fun.
Absolutely it is. And make sure you click a like and subscribe and see us again next time.
Happy cooking.